Yo, what's happening, Raider Nation? It's your boy Soto here. You know what it is. Raiders versus the world. Talked about the team that the world loves to hate, your Las Vegas Raiders. All right. So a couple days removed from that embarrassing performance in Indy, and a couple things just aren't setting right with me. A little bit of a journey into the mind of Soto. There's a couple things that I really can't stand. I hate losing, but losing is a part of competition. And as long as we're learning something, as long as I'm learning something from a loss, it's not really a loss, it's just a learning experience, right? So another thing that gets to me is hypocrisy. If you're a hypocrite, you lose all credibility in every aspect of your life, in my book. I've had people who I've known for quite a few years who really recently have shown to be maybe not as consistent with their actions as they are with their words, or hold other people to higher standards than themselves. And everyone likes to do, nowadays especially, everyone likes to play the victim game and or the rationalization, or there's always these reasons why they can't hold themselves to a different standard than they hold others. Ultimately, hypocrisy is one of the worst things in my book. You're a hypocrite. You're basically a phony. You're a fake. And I never thought I would say this about Pete Carroll, but what is happening with Pete Carroll? And I said this a few weeks ago. I don't know if you guys remember this, but his words and the actions aren't matching up. This is something that I really wanted to get to because there's been some things that have happened recently that really are bugging me, okay? Because Jermaine Pratt was just released yesterday, and we're going to hear it in Pete Carroll's presser. The thing that really gets to me about this whole situation is when you take a look at what's being preached, what's being taught, what's being touted as Pete Carroll's way, which is competition, which is the way it's always been from what I've known, okay? All the way when he was at USC. I didn't miss a USC home game when he was a coach there. I've missed maybe a handful of home games in the last 25 years. I know Pete Carroll, and I know his coaching style, and his coaching style has always been about competition. I don't care who you are. It's all about competition. He goes in there, takes over the Seahawks, and he gets a third-round rookie after he traded for a vet, after he signed a vet to a big contract at the time for quarterback, and the rookie won out, and the rookie played in Russell Wilson. Everyone who knows Pete Carroll knows he's about competition. He comes here, and it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different because you're down 40-3 in the fourth quarter and you kick a field goal. What is that? How is that competing? Okay. How is that competition? What is the field goal going to gain you? You go out there and you try to score touchdowns because you need touchdowns, right? You compete to the very end. That was the first thing that really bugged me. The next thing that bugged me is Indy naturally, and I think rightfully, benched Daniel Jones, their in-question starter, in the fourth quarter because they were up big, and put in Anthony Richardson. I'm thinking to myself, why don't we put in Kenny Pickett? I'm not saying that Kenny Pickett is a world beater. I don't think that. I don't think Geno Smith is a world beater. But Kenny Pickett is a former first-round pick. He has some talent. He's a veteran in this league. Let's go see what he has. Let's go see what he can do. And if Geno Smith is your unquestioned starter, all you can say is, you know what, the game was out of hand. We wanted to still compete. We wanted to give other guys some chance. And we wanted to give other guys a chance to compete as well. We didn't want to get Geno hurt. The game was out of hand, whatever. But that's still competing. You're still putting guys out there to compete. Maybe it wasn't Geno Smith's day. Maybe Geno Smith had to sit down and watch someone else do it. But to keep him out there and then go for a field goal, it doesn't make any sense. That's not competition. That's not competing. So what's happening here is you're preaching competition if you're Pete Carroll. And it seems like the competition is for everybody as long as you're not Geno Smith. Now, this is not a new revelation, okay? This is not anything new, whereas, you know, the quarterback always gets a little bit more of a leeway, especially when in the first year with the team. But this is Pete Carroll's guy. Like, this is his dude, okay? And he went out there and traded, you know, the high capital, third-round pick is nothing to sneeze at. Traded for Geno Smith, got him. He's my guy. And it seems like he's handling Geno Smith with kid gloves because he's not very critical of him during his press conferences. There's a lot of excuses, a lot of reasons, a lot of rationalization, and he's tipping towards that hypocrisy line. And I don't like it, man. I don't like it one bit. There's a few reasons why. First off, I don't like hypocrites anyway. Secondly, that's not going to fly really well in the locker room because people are looking around and like, yeah, he's our quarterback and everything, but he's got 9 interceptions, 5 games. We failed to score a touchdown in 2 games. This is getting weird. Now, I'm not saying to bench Geno Smith, but if you're preaching competition, why are you going for a field goal in the fourth quarter down 37 points? I would have much rather us go for it and maybe even throw another pick. But at least we're going for it. At least we're pushing. At least we're competing. Kicking a field goal is not competition. What are we going to get closer to just so now we're only down 34? That didn't sit well with me. Then the reason that Pete Carroll gave is like, well, we need more practice. We need to go out there and we need to get sharper. So you're getting sharper by kicking field goals. Now, I don't mind the explanation, right? I don't mind. I understand. And I even said so in the post-game show. I said, you know what? The only reason I can see as to why they kept Geno Smith in the game is to keep continuity, to keep pushing forward, to get more reps for Geno Smith in this offense and the rest of the offense. But then you're kicking field goals. It doesn't make sense to me, man. It doesn't make sense. It seems like everyone's in competition, including Jackson Powers-Johnson, who now is your best offensive lineman that you have, but he needs to compete against Alex Kappa, who's one of the worst in the NFL at his position. But Geno Smith doesn't have to compete. And that is a slap in the face to everyone, including myself, who was like, Pete's all about competition. Pete's all about the best guy for the job. So how does that hold water when you're looking around and you have a quarterback who is clearly struggling and you don't hold him to the same standard? It seems to me that it seems to be like everyone else has their own rule, and then there's another rule for Geno Smith. Now, I'm not coming down on Geno Smith for it. It's not his fault. It's not his decision to play or not play. It's Pete Carroll's decision. But I'll tell you something right now. If I'm a guy in the locker room and I'm looking at this and things aren't getting better and we're not winning games and we're looking around like, man, maybe Kenny Pickett can do a better job. Maybe we won't get the explosive plays like we would with Geno Smith, but we don't really need that. We just need to not have the very bad plays that Geno Smith gives you. And that's the problem. Let's bring all this back around to Germaine Pratt, because there's a rumor out there that there was an altercation between Germaine Pratt and the coaching staff previously. Then there was another rumor, and I'm not saying this is true. It's unsubstantiated at this point. But what I'm saying is there's a heavy rumor that Germaine Pratt and Maxx Crosby had a disagreement when Maxx Crosby was holding Germaine Pratt accountable for not knowing his assignment. That makes sense. Maxx is the leader of the team. He's the leader definitely on defense. And you do want to have your leaders police what's going on. Now, if Germaine Pratt took issue with that and there was an altercation, I can see where the team and Pete Carroll used Germaine Pratt as an example. Like, we don't put up with this. You need to be all on board. You need to be working. You need to be accountable to yourself and accountable to your teammates. Germaine Pratt wasn't getting it done on the field. He was having issues with coaches. He was having issues with players. He was having issues with being accountable. And now he's gone. We don't care who you are. We don't care if you're a starter or a backup or whoever you are. We need you to be all on board or you're gone. Okay, that's fine. But then you see Geno Smith, who's playing some of the worst football in the league at his position, and he's still keeping his job. And he's still being handled with kid gloves. And he's still being given all these excuses and all these rationalizations and all these reasons to why things happen. Here's the funny thing. Now, Geno Smith did throw 2 interceptions, and one of them was a tip ball up in the air that shouldn't have even counted because it was encroachment. The defense was offsides. But then Pete fails to mention the dropped interception in the end zone that Geno Smith had. If you're going to make an excuse for one, you better accept blame for the other. Because what you're saying is it's not all about the end result. It's about the process leading up to it. And if the process is good, after a while, your result will be good. Well, what about the process that made him throw the ball directly into double coverage in the end zone and the DB just dropped it? These inconsistencies are not going to fly for too much longer. Now, I will tell you this. The best cologne for any of this stuff is winning ball games. So as long as they start winning ball games, I think this is going to be swept under the rug. But as long as the team is struggling, this is going to become a much larger issue for Pete Carroll in this locker room. Now, I do understand that Pete Carroll has a lot of cachet, right? He has a long leash because he won a championship in college. He's won a Super Bowl in the NFL. He's turned programs around. He's seen how things take time to turn around sometimes. But ultimately, if this doesn't start turning around, and I don't even mean turning around as far as us winning a bunch of ball games, okay? We just need to be looking better and being more competitive. Because losing by 1 point to the Bears at home isn't being competitive, because the Bears are really bad too. That's just us being worse than a bad team. I'm talking about being competitive against good teams. If we're anything that we think we are in the NFL, even if we're an average team, we should handily beat the Titans. We should have handily beat the Bears if not for those turnovers. So I'm really hoping to see a much better showing of coaching, of game planning, of preparation, and of execution, and definitely of special teams. These are things that have been just lacking, that have been failing us throughout this season. And if those things don't start getting tightened up, there's going to be major issues in this locker room, because a lot of these guys have been losing for a lot of years. And they had a lot of hope in Pete Carroll, and then he comes in with his coaching staff, and things aren't any different. They're just getting worse. It's brewing. It's not there yet, but the water's starting to bubble. And if it gets too hot, the top is going to blow off, and this is not going to be pretty in Raider Nation. This is going to end up being worse than my betting slip at my bookie. I took a beating on Sunday. Now, I did get Alex Pereira right. I think I'm going to be pretty good on that. But my football, I was like 1 for 3 on my football picks, man. That was rough. But hey, you win some, you lose some. I think a little bit of action too on the casino games at my bookie. It's really cool, man. Check it out. The links are in my description below. It's my link tree, has all my socials. It has all my sponsors. Make sure to use the promo code SOTO to get some freebies. It's a really chill, man. And yeah, that's what I use. That's all I use. But yeah, man, I did okay. I was still up money because of the fight, the UFC fight, Pereira fight, and I won some good cash on that. But then I geeked it on the freaking picks, man. The over under was 48, and the Colts scored 40 of them, and we only managed 6. Oh well. Again, you win some, you lose some. Not a big deal. I got a little bit of back on blackjack in the casino room. So whatever, it's all good. My bookie, you win some, you lose some. So check it out if you want to check out some cool gaming and some action on the sporting events and casinos. It's really cool stuff, man. But yeah, Pete Carroll had a press conference. Let's hear what he had to say. Hopefully it's not some nonsense again.
Yeah, he hustled get here.
Okay.
Pete, is this, I guess, a longer process than you thought it might be?
Yeah, it's much longer than I expected it to be. Yeah, it depends on how you put it together and how it comes together, and I feel like there's no doubt that it's going to, and we just got to get it right and get away from the big plays that are causing huge impacts in games, and get down to playing ball. The big stats, the normal stats you look at, runs and passes and all that doesn't tell the story in this game. It's the big plays that happen in the kicking game and turnover for a touchdown, and those plays are so huge, and so we have to just get out of that kind of ball and get to just playing good football, and we're running the ball better than the team they play, and you pass the ball better, and those things work for you and win for you.
In regards to Jermaine Pratt, are you anticipating him practicing this week and playing on Sunday against the Titans?
No, he's been released. Yeah.
Is there a reason for his release?
Of course, yeah. We just thought it was time to go in a different direction.
Pete, how do you make up for that loss of Jermaine Pratt? Like, what do you guys have in mind for that?
Malcolm, Snowden, and Jamal all combining to help. They all play the same spot, and so those guys will work out for us.
Also, teams are somewhat picking on Caillou Blue a little bit. How do you help a young cornerback in his situation?
Yeah, just keep working with him. He's doing so many good things, but he is getting the action. And interesting. Darian played on the other side and really didn't see the ball very much. Throughout the game, and so there's ways to help him coverage wise. There's ways to make sure that we're just keeping him on it. It's just a hair of a difference on him playing, from the PI situation, that we work really hard on. So, we just got to keep getting better. I mean, they're going to get the corner sometimes, and we got to help them as much as we can.
Is there any more personnel changes that you expect could be on the way or are on the way?
No.
Any update on AJ Cole?
Yeah, he's got a low ankle sprain. He's going to try to kick on Friday and see how he does. So he's tough about it, and we'll see what happens.
Are you bringing somebody else in just in case?
We're talking about other guys. Yeah, we got to cover ourselves on this.
Speaking about AJ Cole, that whole unit in special teams, what are some things that you're seeing that you feel could just be better in your eyes?
Well, we've had a couple, plays that have happened where Mike Mayer plays, and we haven't backed it up well enough. These guys have been challenged, and so we got to get our guys right. If Mike can play, then we'd like to get him back in there. But there's been a couple situations that have occurred, where he's a key player for you, and it just shows you that it's hard. The backup's got to come in, and they're called on to play just like a legit starter, and so hopefully we can clean that up.
Special teams has always been a strength of this team, and it seems like it's been a struggle this year. Can you put your finger on what's going on with the special teams unit in general?
Yeah, we're working really hard like we have been. Tommy's been here a long time and done a good job with the club and for the club, and we haven't changed any of our emphasis. We've followed it as much as we can, and we're counting on really good results. So the fact that big plays have happened, we got to make sure that we got guys in the right spots. We're going to keep working with new guys and to fit in and see if they can make plays for us. We need our guys that are covering the kicks to do a consistent job, and I'd like to have more defensive guys on those teams when we can. But we're not. We really, our emphasis has been is I would think as consistent as any part of our team. So we just got to get better results. We got to get away from the big plays.
Any update on the tight ends?
Tight ends. What about them?
Both, any update on their injury status?
Yeah, Mike has his opportunities tomorrow to get cleared, and we'll see how that goes. Fingers crossed and all of that. He feels like he's ready to go, and has felt like that. So but there's the protocol is challenging, and we respect it. Brock he's week to week. We got to see what's going on, see if we can get him back, and he's dying to play. We went all the way till Saturday's walkthrough to see if he could go, and it didn't feel like he could. So we'll just start over again, do it again this week.
When you look at the film from yesterday's game, how would you evaluate Geno Smith's overall performance in the game?
G was solid. He had the play when the guy jumps in the neutral zone, he's got a chance to throw the ball in the end zone there because we got a penalty situation, and he had a guy open. He made a great, I think would have been a great throw. Ball got tipped up and turns into a game-changing interception. It's unfortunate. Sometimes that happens, and his response is he sees the guy in the neutral zone, and he knows he has the freedom to make the play. I don't know if that would have changed him any, because he had the right read and he was throwing the right guy. The guy knocked the ball up in the air. It wasn't the guy that jumped that got the ball tipped up. But that's a huge play because it's 14-3. We're going in right then, and feeling pretty good. So, G's got to keep doing it. You got to stay with it. We got to continue to build around him, get the running game rolling. Got to get our guys coming through on their plays, and he's got to do his part also. He got the pick that he threw that was legit. We got a little challenge in the coverage right there, and the response to the guy coming off the edge, and didn't get what we needed done there. You might have, somebody asked me, I think last night, did you think about making a change? And of course, I'm always aware of those kinds of thoughts, but we need to keep playing. We need to get better. We need to keep practicing. Even though it's a lousy situation in the fourth quarter, we're still practicing our football and trying to get better and get right for the next game. And it's unfortunate that it turned out that way, but we're going to do everything we can to keep taking advantage of all the opportunities we get.
When you look at those rookies, Ashton, jeanty, Jack Besh, Dante, who played a lot yesterday, can you just talk about what's the biggest thing you've noticed in their maturation? And what do you think is the next step for them moving forward?
Yeah, I think Ashton is handling everything beautifully. Yeah, he's the pressure of being a draft pick and all of that and trying to get going. And he is going. He's legit. He had another really good game yesterday. Caught the ball a number of times. Chip did a good job of spreading him around. Jack continues to do well and come through. He's playing well on special teams as well. He's a real competitive kid that we love his spirit about what he brings, and he's going to keep helping us. Dante, we've been going to, we've been working, and it hasn't been as effective as we want it to be. He's trying. He's busting his tail, and he's a brand new football player. He barely started in college, so but he's shown us enough that it's worth hanging with him and keep working through it. And we got to make sure that his role is really fitted well, and so that we can utilize his strengths. And right now we continue to use him in a variety of situations, and we're growing with it. And he's going to come through. He's got too much talent.
Pete, how does the first 5 games here with the Raiders compare to your starts with other teams in your past?
Yeah, well, we were 2-5 at SC. So and then we didn't lose very many games after that point, and I can't remember exactly how we started in Seattle in the first 4 or 5 games, but I know we finished well, and we won the last game to win the division and to get in the playoffs, and won a playoff game and all that. I know that we're going to come together. I have no hesitation in saying that. I just wish it was sooner than later, and so. We're going to keep plugging away. And our guys are practicing hard, and they care, and the leadership is good, and they're solid, and they're keeping our guys' heads in the right place. And we're counting on turning this thing. If you could take a lesson, let's learn the lesson that the Aces taught us. They were struggling, and then they won 16 in a row, and look where they are now. And so things can turn, and that's the only way I've ever known it. So that's the only expectation I have.
I know you're big on playing young players, but could you describe what the challenges that sometimes that presents when you're relying on young players at key positions?
Yeah, the 2 D linemen played yesterday. They played like 14, 15 plays or something like that. So they got a taste of it and they got to, run game, pass game. They got some action. It's just bringing them along. And the whole idea has always been, if you play guys early, by the time you get to midseason, it's comfortable for them to be in the games, and you pick up more quality depth from those guys as opposed to holding them out, and not giving them a chance. And so there's a little give and take with that, but it continues to be the concept is to try to get these guys ready to play. So from the midseason point on, they can be role players for us and factor in and help us. That doesn't just help the fact that they're playing, but they give other guys breaks too. So that's been the mentality.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
It all sounds good. And separating myself from this situation and just listening to what he's saying. It sounds good. It's going to work. The coach is going to work. I'm used to it. I'm used to implementing these things. Once we figure it out and start clicking, we didn't lose to him. And it's true. He did have a really shaky start. Never forget, when he went to SC, he was like their 3rd choice, okay? Who's this Pete Carroll guy? He's losing a bunch of games. He's 2-5. I think we ended up something like 7-6 that first season, 7-5, something like that. And then the next season, they were like 11-0, 11-1, 12-1, stuff like that. It was a situation where I understand what Pete is saying. I just don't think that he thought it was going to be this hard. I think he thought that there was much more talent on this team. And there's quite a bit of talent on this team. But you have 2 of your top 5 players on your entire team that aren't playing. And you have your most important player on your team, the guy that you handpicked to lead this offense, playing some of the worst football of his career. This is like New York Jets Geno, okay? And I don't know whether it's him pressing or him trying to be too much, him, not being that kind of like, I just want to be a part of the team. And there could be something to that. There could be something to the fact that when he went to the Jets, he wanted to be that game breaker. He was snubbed in the first round. I don't know if you guys remember that. He went to the draft, and he wasn't selected, and he had to come back the next day, and then he was selected in the 2nd round. Maybe he had a chip on his shoulder. Who knows? But whatever he's doing, he needs to go back to what he was in Seattle. That's the Geno Smith that we're looking at. A guy that's going to play his game, don't force things, be a part of the offense, get the ball to the playmakers, because ultimately that's the only way this team is going to break out of their funk is by running the offense that you have and getting the ball out quickly to your playmakers. Because if he's trying to go out there and hold the ball too long and wait for things to develop, it's not going to work, man, because we've seen it that it's not the way it's going to work with Geno Smith at quarterback. Getting back to Pete Carroll, I believe that Pete Carroll knows what he's doing. I understand that, but you have to be a little bit more transparent when it comes to things that don't match up what you've been preaching this entire time. And the main thing is Geno Smith. If you would have been a little bit more transparent, look, I understand we need to compete, but in practice, Geno Smith is still the best guy for this job. We need to lock this down with Geno Smith because he's our best chance to win. If you were to say that, I'd say, like, I'd back off. Like, you know what? I get it. The quarterback position is a little bit different than other positions because there's only one ball, right? During the lead up to games, you can have a quarterback that's a starter. He's going to get 80, 90% of the snaps, and the backup's going to get very few snaps, and the third string are going to get hardly any. But what we're looking at here is some more transparency, some more straightforwardness, because it just feels like there's a lot of excuses being made, and that's what really bums me out about what's happening right now. The losing, I'm used to losing. What I'm not used to is something being so flip-floppy as to what's being said and what's being done on the field. Hopefully the team starts winning. The Titans is a very winnable game. These are NFL players, man. These are NFL teams. You saw, the New Orleans won a game. A lot of these bad teams are winning games because these are all paid. These guys are all freak athletes. They're the freakiest of the freak athletes. You got to go in there and you got to show up and you got to play hard, because if we don't show up with our A game, the Titans can nab us. And that would be devastating if we were to go to 1-5, losing to not only the Bears, but also the Titans at home. That would be rough. That's going to be something that's really hard to come back from. So Pete Carroll better hope that he has these guys ready to rock at home on Sunday. All right, guys, that's my time for today. Really appreciate you guys watching. Guys, if you like Raider content, if you like to get videos, if you like to get shorts every single day, if you like to have a guy that's straightforward to shoot it straight to you, go ahead and you know what to do. Raiders versus the world, guys. This is something that I'm trying to do and build a community for you guys. That's why we have the Shield Society. If you want to do it, that's great. If not, that's fine. You're still going to get this content every single day. If you like the content, go ahead and subscribe, man. You know what to do. What are you waiting for? I need you guys to do one thing for me, though. Tell your friends, tell your haters, tell your mamas, tell everybody. Raiders versus the world is the greatest thing going on Raider Nation today. All right, guys, that's my time. Till next time, everybody. Peace. Hey, Raider Nation. Thanks for watching. There's plenty more where that came from. Go ahead and smash that like button. Drop a comment. Make sure to subscribe and share to all your socials. It's the bare minimum you can do without doing absolutely nothing.